Am I live? Yeah, it says I'm live. Cool. I'm finally doing a May stream on the last Friday of May. Is it the last Friday of May? Yeah, 26. Yeah, it is. Next Friday would be June 2nd. Fuck, does time fly by? So, already gonna be June in a few days. Felt like just, I don't know, 2 seconds ago the year just started. But every year is like that. Where, feels like the year just began, and then all of a sudden you're halfway through the year, and then before you know it, the year fucking ends. Huh. Anyway, how are all of you doing? The three people I see in the chat right now. Hello, Corbin. Hello, Luna. Hello, Big Guy 45s. How are you all doing today? Um, this may be a bit of a somber stream. I don't know. We'll see how it goes because just before I got word that either yesterday, very late last night, or very early this morning, a family friend passed away. Or, well, no one I was really close to, and someone that my mom and my uncle didn't particularly like, but still, a death is a death, and their death did come as a shock. They were relatively young, so it's still rather sad regardless. So that's all that's been going on with me today. Hopefully, your days or your day is a little less depressing. Hello, Dylan. Hello. Well, I already said hi to you, big guy. Sorry to hear. Yeah, yeah. Again, it's no one I was close to or anything. I saw them on occasion, mostly after right after my grandmother died, back in 2020. But yeah, still, again, I wasn't expecting them to die or anything, so it was still very much a surprise. It's America. Everything is depressing here. Yeah, true. Everything is depressing here in America. Mostly everything, at least. Especially if you pay attention to the political sphere or the political environment, rather, in this country, like I do, because I just don't value my mental health enough, I guess. Siren. But yeah, I also just recently finished my college semester. To brighten the mood a bit. Still waiting for my grades for most of my other classes, but I'm glad another semester is down. Want to know what's depressing? Missing out a lot of your streams. Missing out on a lot of your streams. Well, whatever. I mean, people have obligations, and I'm sure, you know, they have things going on with their day that kind of intervene with, joining any relevant YouTuber stream, so it's understandable. I finished my second week of work. Yeah, I heard you've been working. Uh, that's cool. Hopefully, your job is going well. Had anxiety attacks during quitting time. Oh man, yeah. I had a friend who used to have anxiety attacks when they first started working. Um, Mainly because it was a very new situation for them. But they eventually had it under control. I think they went on medication. Nice haircut. Yeah, I got it a few weeks ago, around the beginning of the month. It was shorter than this, quite a bit shorter, but my hair grows relatively quickly. Before I got the haircut, my hair was starting to get pretty annoying. It started going in front of my face a lot, or more particularly my eyes. And uh, I was like, yeah, it's probably time to cut it. Speaking of grades, there was a link that most of seniors in high school failed to graduate due to grades, and only five seniors get to graduate. Where at your high school? I don't know exactly what you're talking about. It's going well despite the anxiety attacks. Well, hopefully you're able to overcome the anxiety. I can very much understand the struggle because I am a fellow struggler of anxiety, or however you want to put it. It can be hell, but you know, some days are better than others. So what the fuck is going on in the world today? I usually scroll a bit on Twitter to uh see if there's anything worthy to talk about in these streams. Usually it's just benign bullshit on my timeline. I I don't even know why I'm still on Twitter. It's not like I post all that much, nor do I like looking at it all that much. I mean, I didn't like looking at it that much during even before the Elon takeover, but oh, Elon Twitter. It makes old Twitter actually look it makes old Twitter look so much better in comparison. Like I didn't even know it was possible for Twitter to get even worse, especially with the blue check marks getting prioritized in replies. I said this in one of my recent videos, but I'll reiterate it here. Now with that in place, you're like more than likely to see like the dumbest fucking takes be pushed to the top because they got that stupid blue check mark because they're throwing $8 to the fucking multi-billionaire that bought Twitter for some dumb fucking reason because free speech, that shit, well, the kind of shit he virtue signals about and doesn't really care about. I have a bit of social anxiety and I have a high functioning autism. Same for both. I don't use Twitter that much. That's probably for the best, for the better. Old Twitter was fun bad, yeah. Now it's just bad bad. Like it's slowly but surely, or maybe not even slowly. It's becoming like the new Facebook. You see all these fucking boomers with the sunglasses. You see all these boomers taking have profile pics that are selfies of themselves with sunglasses in a car, spewing the most dumb fuck takes. It's just like Facebook. You're seeing more and more of that, and you see that blue tick next to them. Did Elon really need Twitter? He didn't. He was the richest man in the world and still is one of the richest men in the world. He just wanted a virtue signal about caring about free speech to his dumb fuck audience that he knows will just eat up anything he fucking says, and pander to a base of people who are dumb as rocks, like much of the Republican voter base. He appeals to the lowest common denominator, and these people just eat up anything he fucking says. Look at the replies under any of his tweets ever since he started prioritizing blue check marks and replies. The replies under his tweets are nothing but a suck off fest for Elon. People telling him how fucking amazing he is, you know, like he's the second coming of Jesus or some shit. So he panders to those kind of people, and he was pandering to those kinds of people when he bought Twitter. He didn't even really want to buy Twitter. I mean, like shortly after he bought it, he was fighting in court to get out of the deal, but he couldn't. So he's stuck with it now. Totally random, but I'm friends with a mod on the Ask Feminist subreddit called Kelly the Cat. All right. Hello, Pixel fan. How are you doing? Another high school in Florida. 17 seniors didn't get to watch because of one prank that was so harmless. They apologized afterwards and cleaned up the mess, but they didn't get to watch. What was the prank? Was it really that harmless? God, remember the prank era on YouTube and all of the when YouTubers like Sam Pepper were doing all these like crazy shit, doing all of this crazy shit, like kidnapping their friends and throwing them in trunks and thinking that'll get a laugh out of the audience. That's an era of YouTube I don't miss at all. Or, thinking or posting pranks that try to make sexual or something like sexual assault seem funny. That was also Sam Pepper going up to women and pinching their asses. I know that video I think was fake, but still, the type of attitude and culture that, you know, promoted. Gross. The only reason Elon even really bought Twitter was over Babylon Bee being suspended for transphobia. Was that really the reason? Was that really what made Elon decide, "I'm gonna buy this shithole of a website and make it even worse"? When did the prank era happen? Oh, geez, he must be a newcomer to YouTube around, what, 2015, 2016? It was alongside, leafy commentary era, another era of YouTube I don't miss. Well, the same era of YouTube, but still, I just don't miss that time of YouTube at all. Speaking of that, I wonder how iDubbbz is doing after that apology video. I made it clear in the video I made about that apology, but I'll say it again here. I really do commemorate him for making that video. He's not owed anyone's forgiveness. I saw a Keffel's video yesterday about the situation where she showed a comment of someone who is a black woman, and, during their time in middle school, they would have, edgy iDubbbz fans saying the N-word to her, and she, said she didn't forgive iDubbbz for his past content, and that's totally understandable. I mean, if you're at the brunt of shit like that, you know, you're at the brunt of bullying from people who, were inspired by YouTubers such as iDubbbz to, engage in that kind of shitty behavior, I think that's more than fair to not forgive them. But even still, I do, it is really nice to see a YouTuber have that kind of introspection and, be able to admit that their old content was harmful and they disavow that content now, especially if that content garnered such a huge audience like iDubbbz's old content did, you know? He could have easily just, kept quiet about that and, you know, never said anything, but he came out and uploaded that apology video, and I'm sure he knew the kind of reaction that video would attain. I mean, that video has, what, over 100K dislikes now, I think, because, much of his audience is stuck in 2016 and still has that same humor and feels betrayed that iDubbbz doesn't, you know, look back at those old videos fondly. Like, it's really sad and kinda disturbing how many people are stuck in 2016. Like, a lot of these people were probably, like, 14, 15 back then. They're in their 20s now or late teens, and they feel like they've peaked in that year. I really just surreal. I've never seen a year so, I've never seen a year so unhealthily revered like 2016 is. And 2016 wasn't that bad of a year for me. That was the year I was in my freshman year of high school, and it was a, relatively decent year. It wasn't amazing, but, it's not a year I'm clamoring to go back to. But anyway, I remember a kid at my old high school would mock the fact that my old high school, had an all-gender bathroom. Yeah, uh, that's pretty shitty. Me personally, I don't care where one goes to shit and piss. I also don't care what Target is selling either. I've heard about that whole controversy with Target, having a have for Pride Month, they have a whole section of merchandise, celebrating Pride Month, rainbow capitalism. Like rainbow shirts or or rainbow pants or rainbow, wristbands or whatever the fuck. I've seen that section at my local Target before in other years. I never batted an eye. I never gave a fuck about it, but all these conservatives are melting the fuck down over shit that really doesn't matter at all, like what's being sold at a fucking Target. It's just so ridiculous. Like, aren't these people, yeah, don't these people support the free market? Now all of a sudden, they don't like it when certain items are sold at a store. Well, not all of a sudden, this has been going on for years, but it seems like it's at an all-time high this year because all this transphobia is just so fucking rampant when it comes to, mainstream discourse now. Like, my philosophy is just live and let live. If someone wants to buy Pride merchandise because, Pride Month begins in a few days, I don't care. I don't fucking care. Hello, Guitar Rocker. How you doing today? Do you agree that the 2015 to 16 era of YouTube is completely different from now? It objectively is. Oh god, it was so much more edgy back then. For better mostly for worse. I was gonna say for better or for worse, but definitely mostly for the worse. I mean, look at the kind of people that, that culture fostered. I'm happy iDubbbz is aware of how his past impacted the internet. I don't know why I struggled to read your message there, but yeah, again, it's really cool to see that kind of introspection from such a large creator. You don't see that very often. Like, if a lo like, most YouTube creators, if they don't like their old content, they usually don't say anything about it. They just kinda, like, bury the past and not acknowledge it, but he decided to go in the completely opposite direction. Like, again, he could have easily just, tried to distance himself from that content by just not acknowledging it, keeping it up, but just not saying anything about it. But he decided not to do that, and I think that takes a ton of balls, especially if you have a following as huge as he does, and most of that following was attained from that old edgy content you disavow now. I wish him luck in the future. His channel is, I'm sure, bleeding subscribers now, but hopefully, whatever he has planned in the future, will attain him a new audience. I'm confident it will. I'm sure it will. You never watched iDubbbz back then? I used to watch him religiously. Oh, man, that's an overstatement. I mostly like the content cops, but I also like the other shit, like, the bad unboxing videos or his videos mocking bad Kickstarters. Those were entertaining, but obviously what I liked the most was him roasting other large creators, and I guess the only thing I disagreed with him on in that apology video, I probably should have brought this up in my response video, but, when he said he, criticized other creators for lackluster reasons, I did kinda sorta disagree with that. Now when it comes to Tana Mongeau and, him going to a fucking Tana Mongeau convention and yelling the N-word to her, and then subsequently, justifying the use of the N-word regardless of any context in a video, that shit is gross and inexcusable, and he should absolutely disavow that, but when it comes to genuinely bad people like Keemstar and Leafy, maybe him saying the N-word in those videos weren't, also wasn't right, but it definitely wasn't right. The, dumb humor and the Leaf and Keemstar content ops, but, the main crux of those videos, the main point of those videos, I think still stands. Keemstar was genuinely an awful person back then, he still is an awful person. He learned absolutely nothing in the 8 or 7 or 8 years since that content cop. And same with Leafy, he hasn't changed one bit. I liked the Leafy content cop the most because, it was bullying the bully. Leafy was bullying all these little kids on the internet, people who didn't defend them who weren't in a position to defend themselves because they were either little kids or, in some cases, neurodivergent adults. He literally made an autistic man cry because he made a video, calling that guy cringe and that attained, like, 5,000,000 plus views. That was disgusting. Seems like Leafy learned absolutely nothing from that, so it was really nice to see iDubbbz go after him because obviously Leafy had his own despite being a bully himself, he obviously had his own insecurities because anytime he would, you know, use a face cam back then, he would have half of his fucking face covered with the microphone by the microphone. So, I think videos like those still stand the test of time, the edgy humor aside, of course, or the, stupid edgy humor aside, of course. But, all in all, I don't have much of a problem with edgy humor as long as it's actually, used effectively and, not punching down. I think the person who utilized edgy humor the best, or at least a really good example of someone who utilized edgy humor the right way was George Carlin. His philosophy was, "Don't punch down." When he was making edgy jokes, he usually directed those kind of jokes to, people in positions of power, such as politicians, CEOs, or billionaires, or anyone of the like. That's in my opinion, that's the right way to use that kind of to utilize that kind of humor, because again, you're not punching down to minorities or people who don't deserve it. Where did I leave off? Saw my dad yesterday for the first time in 4 months. He's working up north. That's really nice. I haven't seen my dad since November. I live in New York City. He lives all the way up in Buffalo, or more by the, Canadian border, rather. Yeah, he lives right by Niagara Falls, obviously the American side. So, since he lives so far away, I don't see him often, but we do talk on the phone semi-regularly. Actually, the other day, I talked to him on the phone for, like, 2 hours. It was really nice. It's always nice talking to him. Sure a lot of before my grandmother passed away, I hadn't talked to him in 5 years, and I wanted nothing to do with him, but turns out, he has his issues, of course. I'm not gonna get into that because it's none of your business, but he does have his issues, but all in all, he's not a bad person. 98K dislikes. What, the iDubbbz video? I believe he got that many dislikes. Also, I remember when Joey Salads was one of the biggest prank channels. Oh, God, Joey Salads, I forgot about that guy. He became a Trump reply guy, right? I used to see him a lot back in, like, 2019 sucking Trump's ass under replies, and then I think he got suspended. Probably has his Twitter back now because, Elon, but I remember seeing that guy a lot on Twitter, posting, like, the dumbest fucking takes because he was a right-wing, shitbag. He also pissed in his mouth. That's a image I never needed to see, but anytime I would look at a Joey Salads tweet, anytime I would bump into a Joey Salads tweet rather, there would always be that one reply that would ratio him with a picture of him drinking his own urine. Like, literally, it's a picture of him pointing his dick up, and he's, like, drinking. I don't even need to describe it. All in all, it's a gross picture that I didn't need to see. It's, like, permanently burned into my brain. The early 2010s era of YouTube was way better than 2016. Yeah, probably. I remember that era of YouTube. Definitely less toxic back then. Again, I just hate the over romanticization of 2016. Like, you still have your whole life ahead of you. You were, what, 15 back then? That doesn't need to be the peak of your life. Was there any pranks in 2015 to 2016 era on Meverse too? Pranks? I don't know. I was already off Meverse by then, so, I don't know what Meverse was like in those years. Wally B26 is live streaming now. I have no clue who that is. I bought a new glass bong a couple of days ago. That's nice. Been a minute since I, used a bong. However, she thinks that corporations do care for LGBT people. Sounds like a lib. Doing alright. My mouth is healing, and I haven't needed to wear a mouthpiece to bed for these last few nights. Oh, yeah, your mouth surgery. I'm glad you're healing. The bleeding any better? I remember needing, uh I remember needing, I remember I had to have my teeth removed when I was a little kid. Little kid. I was, like 4 or 5. Almost all of my teeth were removed. I forget why. I think there's an infection or something, I don't know, but, I obviously didn't understand what was going on. That was the only time I was ever on an operating table, and, there were all these, doctors surrounding me, and it was fucking terrifying. I was freaking out. They eventually put me under anesthesia, of course, but, that was I still remember that pretty well, not clearly, but I still do remember that. It was not a pleasant memory, but obviously, I got all my teeth now because that was my baby teeth that was removed, or maybe I'm wearing dentures and you just don't know. Late 2000s and early 2010s YouTube was so good and very nostalgic. She once told me that Aunt Jemima is a civil rights icon. Wasn't Aunt Jemima literally based off, what was it, a mammy, I think? Yeah, I think it was based off of, or was Slave. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really think much when they removed, or when they completely changed the Aunt Jemima brand because, at the end of the day, it was just corporate virtue signaling, a corporation pretending that they care about civil rights and, advancing advancing the rights of people of color, but in reality, they just wanted to, make it seem like they care because they wanted to make a quick buck off of people. But even still, a depiction of a slave woman on, a very popular syrup brand, yeah, that doesn't really have much place in the world these days. I'm in the same boat as iDubbbz where I addressed my problematic comments in the past, and 3 years later, I don't regret it one bit if I did. Even if I did way overcorrect myself in 2020. Yeah, I do look at some of the videos I made in 2020, and sometimes I look back on my Discord server from that time, and, there were times where I would watch some of those videos and read some of those old posts and be like, "Yeah, maybe I was a little too on the purity lefty side of things back then." But overall, I do agree with the sentiment. My old content was really bad. I would say the N word and a whole bunch of slurs and, essentially just punch down and, just use dumb, offensive humor without any punchline or any point. That shit I do absolutely regret, and I still do agree with, some of the things I said back in 2020. Like, again, ironic bigotry still being bigotry because, it normalizes certain attitudes regarding, marginalized people and the like, certain harmful attitudes, I should say. Kinda wish I didn't overcorrect myself back then, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, it happened. I was like that too. What are you gonna do? Can't change the past. All you can do at this point is acknowledge the past and acknowledge what you've done right in the past and what you've done wrong, and, grow as a person. I used to watch Leafy when I was 10, but this was 2016, so give me a break. So you're 17 now. My math is correct. I was 15 in 2016. 5-year difference, but still a lot of my school loved Leafy and loved iDubbbz. More so iDubbbz, especially after the content cop. Oh god. I remember getting into an argument with a friend. He still argued that Leafy's content was good. This is in, like, 2017 after the content cop, and I was like, "Leafy's content is absolute fucking shit, and iDubbbz fucking destroyed him." And he liked iDubbbz too. He liked both Leafy and iDubbbz, but he was still like, "No, Leafy's content is funny, and watch this latest video." It gave me a good laugh, and then I watched the video he was talking about. I completely forget what the video was or what the subject was, but I watched it and I was like, "This is the same fucking horrible fucking bullshit he was pumping up before the content cop. He didn't improve at all. He's still unfunny." And he was like, "No, this is hilarious." And I'm like, "Okay, okay." I can't argue with you in regards to, what you like and what you don't like, so agree to disagree, I guess. He doesn't care about any of that shit anymore, though. He grew past that kinda content years ago. Where did I leave off? Think I left off here. Leafy responded to Keffels by being very transphobic and misgendering her. He had to put in the effort to be that transphobic too. Yeah, I saw one of her videos on Leafy, and she said he was very inconsistent with his transphobia because sometimes he would correctly gender her, and then he would misgender her in other instances. It really leads me to believe that Leafy doesn't even really give a shit about the whole transphobia shit and is only just placating to his audience that he knows is full of transphobes. Because A lot of them were people who never grew past the, edgy 2016 shit, and at this point, a lot of them are pretty much mask off fascists and Nazis now. So he's placating to that kinda crowd because he knows that kinda crowd makes up a lot of the people who still give a shit about him. I mean, don't get me wrong, his content is still very awful, and I don't I still think he's a shitty person for, even wanting to placate to that kind of crowd, even if he doesn't really believe in what he's saying, but, at the end of the day, he's still making harmful content for an audience of really bad people, so he's still a piece of shit. While everyone was watching Leafy and iDubbbz back then, I was watching Markiplier, SMG4, Game Grumps, and Jacksepticeye. I never watched any of those YouTubers. The only YouTuber out of all those you listed there, or all the only YouTuber out of all the ones you mentioned in your comment was, that I watched was iDubbbz. Leafy I did like, very briefly in 2016 when I first found out about his channel. I think I was even subscribed to him for, like, I don't know, a day or 2. That his content was kind of funny, but then when I watched, more than, like, 30 videos by him, I was like, "Oh, it's the same fucking video every time." He bullies some kid, a neurodivergent person, calls, throws slurs at them, calls them the R slur and shit like that. And then he says at the end of the video, "If you like the video, I'll give you a spaceship," or whatever he used to say at the end of his old videos, and it's the same tired formula every single fucking time. I didn't know why people constantly came back to watch that shit when it was the same video every single goddamn time. Same humor, same jokes, same kind of people he would target. It was so stupid. I didn't get the appeal. I watched, like, 2 of his videos, thought they were amusing, and I was like, "Yeah, this guy's popular. I'll subscribe to him, see what else he has to put out," but that qu you know, me you know, me enjoying his content quickly faded. I like to use edgy humor in my content still, but I don't use it in a way to shit on minorities. In fact, I try to make leftist humor look more appealing to my audience, and it works. Oh, that's cool if you're, you know, making, more progressive ideas palatable to your audience through humor. Your Jordan Peterson YouTube poops were my favorite ones. Benji made, I think, a few on Matt Walsh too, those were funny. Speaking of that, my Matt Walsh video, Jesus, wasn't expecting I was half expecting Matt Walsh's audience to find that video so quickly, honestly, because they're so rabid. I'm not surprised that they name search him and try to find any, new video about him to raid. And that comment section, oof, oof, it's not pretty. I'm not even bothering with those fucking people. He became a Trump reply guy. I think he even once ran for office. Oh, yeah. If you're talking about Joey Salads, yeah, he did. Forgot about that. Yeah, he tried to run for office and that crashed and burned. He lives here in New York, right? Or does he live in California? I honestly forget. I hope he doesn't live here in New York. Ugh. Jacksepticeye was clowning on Matt Walsh a while back, which was based. I didn't know that. I didn't know Jacksepticeye went after Matt Walsh. That's really cool. I hope more big names go after him. Oh, yeah, System of a Down shirt. It's a new shirt. My uncle bought it for me. He went to the mall the other day and saw a bunch of band shirts. He got this one and another shirt for a band called Shinedown that I'm only vaguely familiar with, but he got that anyway. I mean, what am I gonna say? Fuck you, return this. I don't listen to this band. I just accepted it. Maybe I'll wear it. I don't know. But this shirt is cool. It's the Mesmerize album cover, which I don't. Yeah, this is a hot take. It's my least favorite System of a Down album, but still, it has some bangers, and the album cover is cool. So I'll still gladly wear the shirt. I've always preferred Hypnotize over Mesmerize. I know a lot of people disagree, but it's just my opinion. I remember Giga Gambi had a one. Whoa, chat move. Lost my place for a second there. All right. I remember Giga Gambi had a one-off video where he was trolling people on Miiverse with ults. I'm surprised that didn't become a series. Isn't that one of his popular videos? Maybe his most popular video. I don't know. I haven't been on the channel since 2020, I think. Maybe even earlier than that. What is he up to nowadays? Is he still making videos? Sometimes well, I don't know. Maybe this is the case, but I feel like I'm the last of the Miiverse YouTubers that's still around. Everyone else either quit making videos or they are active, where they upload videos just every once in a blue moon, or they just completely disappeared. Or in the case of one YouTuber, they got arrested. But it feels like I'm the last one that's still around, still consistently uploads, even though, my videos nowadays obviously have nothing to do with me versus the site shut down years ago, but still, I feel like I'm the last person from that era that still really uploads videos. Maybe I'm wrong. The bleeding has gone away for the most part, that's good. I remember when I first got braces, I got my top braces first, and then months later, I got my bottoms. Oh god, when I first got my braces on the top, it hurt like fucking hell because, I just got braces on, my teeth were moving, and, it was excruciating for god, maybe even almost a week. I couldn't eat solid food for at least, I think, like, 4 or 5 days. It was terrible. And then I got my bottoms months later, and I had to go through that shit all over again, but thankfully, I think what was it, 2017 or maybe even late 2016, I don't know, but I got my braces off years ago. Don't have to worry about that shit anymore. I still have to wear retainers, which I barely ever wear, but you didn't hear that from me. But no, I'm completely free from that shit now. I have nothing on my teeth, and hopefully it stays that way. My mom thinks that me smoking weed helps me more than it harms me. That's really cool that your mom thinks like that and actually lets you smoke weed. My mom still has that boomer mindset that weed is a gateway drug. It's gonna turn you on to harder drugs like cocaine or heroin or crack, and, even though that's been debunked to hell and back, she had all that shit, drilled into her head in school and in PSAs from the time, back when the war on drugs started to really ramp up or really was kicking off rather, you know, all that sentiment was, being thrown around. And, I've told her over and over again, that shit's a myth, right? I can link you to so many studies that prove that wrong." And she's still like, "No, it's a gateway drug. If you ever do it, you're gonna end up doing heroin." My father is the complete opposite, though. He doesn't give a shit. I told him in the past that I smoke weed on occasion. He's like, "Cool, whatever. We can smoke together sometime." My father is a very progressive guy. He's very much a firm believer that nonviolent drug offenders should not be in prison. They should have their records expunged. I remember in Land O'Lakes also removed the Native American mascot. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That also happened I think it was during the BLM protests back in 2020. You had all these companies virtue signaling about how much they care about people of color because, yeah, they're totally allies. I was lucky I never used the N word in any of my videos, but I did use it in defend its usage when I was 18. I was around that age when I made a stupid video defending usage, saying that we should take the power out of that word and use it however much we please. Never mind that I'm white and I'm not at the receiving end of that word, but you should still listen to me regardless and not listen to the people of color who are actually, at the brunt of that word and don't like it when it's used. I was a dumbass teenager, but who wasn't a dumbass when they were a teenager? There was a lot of purity testing on the server until that incident in 2020. My server, yeah, I had some people like that who engaged in that type of behavior back then in my server until everything crashed and burned between me and that group. But I'd rather not get into that for like the fucking 30th time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, oh well. You turned 20 in December. I turned 22 2 months ago on March 20th. I made 3 on Matt Walsh, 2 of them got raided by his fans, and the Monsters Inc. one did fine. I didn't watch your Monsters Inc. YouTube poop. Did that also have anything to do with Matt Walsh? But yeah, I remember you dealing with Matt Walsh fans. I think you posted some, dumb comments of theirs in my server. Same thing with the Jordan Peterson fans that were, you know, that you know really didn't appreciate your YouTube poops on him. You know, these are the same types of people who say the left can't handle jokes. People need to stop being so soft. They say the shit like that, in regards to, them wanting to say the N word without any consequence, and, you know, try to mask that under the veneer of it was just an edgy joke. What, you can't handle jokes, but then the minute you make fun of someone they like, they go into fucking freak out mode. It's so hilarious. Same thing with Matt Walsh and Karen, you know? He was fucking whining that, that Karen is a anti-white slur. Meanwhile, he was fucking defending the usage of the N-word just a few weeks ago. It's almost like he doesn't like it when the shoe is on the other foot. Philip DeFranco also went after Matt Walsh a bit when talking about the Chris Tyson situation. That's cool. Philip DeFranco, I think he's more of a centrist kinda guy, but, at least, he's not, reactionary, or at least, when it comes to trans issues, from what I've seen, he's been pretty good on those issues at least. A lot of the more normie content creators aren't down with the rampant bigotry, and that's nice to see. It's a nice shirt, System of a Down for the win. Yeah, I do like the shirt. Again, Mesmerize is hot take, my least favorite System of a Down album, but again, it has bangers and, System of a Down's discography is so short and is near flawless, so even their worst album is better than a lot of artists' best. So when I say it's my least favorite album, I'm by no means saying it's a bad album, it's just that it has a lot of songs that I don't care for that much. Mesmerize is alright, really does pale in comparison to Hypnotize, though. I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that. That's a little reassuring because, it seems like the popular sentiment when I, look at, you know, look at YouTube comments or look at the, look at places like the System of a Down subreddit, it seems like common sentiment is Mesmerize is one of their best albums. It shits all over Hypnotize. I've seen people say that it's right behind Toxicity in terms of their best albums. Also, another hot take, I don't think Toxicity is their best album, I think the debut album far and away their best album, and I think Steal This Album is better than Toxicity, hot take there too. But the debut albums, Steal This Album and Toxicity, they're so fucking close when it comes to, quality that, it's not like there's a significant gap in between each album for me, they're all stellar albums, so good. I used to watch Carbon Armani back in 2014, it's sad to see how sick of a person he really is. I don't know how that dude's doing nowadays, I hope that he's not stalking his ex anymore and harassing her and posting those really creepy videos where he's filming in a dark room and yelling into the microphone on his phone or whatever he was doing and threatening her. Yeah, I yeah, that shit is inexcusable, and I really hope he got the help he so desperately needed. And, I made that video back then because I was so sick of seeing all of his fans be like, "We shouldn't hate we shouldn't criticize him because he needs help." When the behavior when yeah, he did absolutely need help, but it seemed like so many people were just defending him because they liked his content when they were kids, and they weren't really given much regard to, how yeah, this woman he was constantly fucking harassing for, I think, years at that point. I hope that shit stopped. But, yeah, I was tired of seeing the constant, defense for him when he was displaying behavior that was not worthy of defense. I understand he was mentally ill, at least back then. Again, I don't know if he got the help he needed since then, but still, at the end of the day, he was, you know, relentlessly harassing a person and threatening them, and I think even threatened their lives more than one occasion. That's not worthy of defense. Nicole still occasionally posts content. Yeah, but she wasn't really part of the Miiverse sphere. She used Miiverse. She talked to, he who shall not be named, the guy who got arrested for CP. If you know, you know. But she didn't really make videos about Miiverse, or maybe she did on another channel that I don't know about back then, but at least to my knowledge, she wasn't really part of the Miiverse rant sphere or whatever the fuck you wanna call it, the Miiverse community here on YouTube. What the fuck happened to that podcast you were doing, by the way? Seems like it suffered the same fate as all the other times she tried to revive that podcast. I don't have any video editing experience, a camera or professional video editing software, so I can't make Mario 64 bloopers, Mario Plush adventure videos, YTPs, commentaries, rants, etc. Well, I do the commentaries and rants, and I don't have the best equipment. This is my microphone right here on a cheap on a cheap pair of Apple earbuds, and they use iMovie, which was preloaded with my Mac. I don't use fancy schmancy software for my videos either. Am I a Deftones fan? No. I'm familiar with Deftones, but I never really gave their music a shot. Maybe someday that'll change. Hello, Olin. How are you doing? Oh, the chat moved again. What the fuck? Hopefully, my college semester this September will teach me about video editing. I had a class in my senior year of high school where we did some video. It was cool. Um, I didn't really utilize any of the techniques I learned in that class into my videos, but it was still kind of fun to make, videos in school. And I actually got pretty good grades for those videos I made for school. I don't have any of those saved, if any of you are wondering, so you're never gonna see those on YouTube, but, uh, yeah, I, my experience with video making, really helped me with that class. I tried to eat a brat with a hot dog bun, and my mouth started bleeding yesterday. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as it has been, but I still need to be careful. I'm glad I don't need a retainer anymore. I don't even know if I need a retainer. I was wearing it for 6 years, and then a few months ago, I stopped wearing them on a regular basis. I just never liked wearing them. I put up with them for 6 years. I would wear them every time I go to bed. Actually, initially, the doctor's orders was to wear them all day unless I'm eating. I never listened to that, and I, only put them on when I went to bed, and I've had no problems with my teeth, so I think I'm in the clear. Same thing with my, braces. I had to put those rubber bands on my braces, and the dentist told me that, I had to wear those rubber bands at all times, unless I'm eating, of course. I didn't listen to that either. I only wore the rubber bands when I went to sleep, and I, never had any problems when I was wearing braces. Oh, yeah, they also told me I couldn't eat shit like chips when I had braces on. I still ate chips and popcorn. They told me I couldn't eat popcorn either. Still ate popcorn, no problem whatsoever in the whole, 3 years I had braces on. I'm not saying this is advice you should follow, I'm just saying that I didn't wanna follow the advice if nothing bad happened. Maybe I just got really lucky. Don't follow don't follow my lead, I'm not a good role model. You shouldn't be thinking of me as a role model in the first place anyway. That's pretty dope on your dad's part, him thinking that, nonviolent drug offenses shouldn't be something you should be thrown in prison for, yeah. Yeah, let's just say he's had his experience with the cops, and he's not big on the, legal system in this country and thinks it needs a massive overhaul, and he thinks that, we throw a lot of people in prison that shouldn't be in prison in the first place. So, with that firsthand experience, he knows a thing or 2. I have tried meth and coke in the past when I was in youth shelters and trap houses across the city for 4 months. I got kicked out of my mom's house. Nowadays, I live with my amazing mother, so yeah, I'm a recovered user for the past 6 months. Jesus, I'm glad you're recovering, dude. Yeah, I know firsthand what hard drugs can do to a person. It's not pretty at all. So I'm glad you're recovering, and I hope you stay uh, on your path. I love taking the power out of slurs that impact me on a personal level, but yeah, I don't know how a white person could take the power out of the N word. They can because it's not a slur directed to them, towards them. Black people pretty much reclaim the N word with the A variant of the N word, but they're still saying the N word with the hard R is still something that's very, demonized and for good reason. But, they still reclaimed the slur in a way by, using the A variant, and, it's pretty much another way of, referring to someone as a friend. But, yeah, white people have no business in any context saying that word. And when it comes to reclaiming slurs that impact me, I don't really no, I don't like saying things like the R slur. Me personally, at least, I'm not scolding you or anything, I'm talking about me personally. Especially since I know people who are really, in real life who have had that word thrown at them to dehumanize them, to, mock them for, being neurodivergent. They really don't like hearing that word in any context. And, I used to use that word flippantly against, other neurodivergent students who may have been more neurodivergent than me, and I was just saying that word as protection. So, anytime I hear that word used in a derogative manner, it just reminds me of myself when I was, a teenager using that word against other neurodivergent students, essentially bullying them because I couldn't come to terms with myself being neurodivergent because I, at the time, had a lot of internalized ableism within me. I've been streaming for an hour and 2 minutes, what the fuck? I thought I've only been streaming for a half hour, wow. You all are really making the stream very fun. Yeah, it did. The "I violate my kids' consent all the time" comment replaying and then getting arrested and what in the Monsters, Inc. YouTube poop. That sounds funny. I didn't watch that video, but, if any Walsh fan got mad at that, yeah, that's also, apparently Matt Walsh is now selling plushies of himself as a baby in a diaper, and it's meant for other little kids to play with. The thought of Matt Walsh being half naked as a plushie for little kids to play with, that really doesn't sit well with me. That kinda raises some flags. Philip DeFranco is pretty centrist on a lot of things, but he is for trans rights, and considering what my brothers watches him regularly, I think that's good. Yeah, that's good. I hear Philip DeFranco is, at least when it comes to certain social issues, is, on the more progressive side, even though, he is at the end of the day a centrist. I don't watch him, I never really cared for his content, but it's good that, a lot of popular, centrist normie creators aren't down for the rampant bigotry, like I said earlier. That's refreshing. Same thing with other normie content creators like Critical, for example. He is, uh he's not bad himself either. And, even though his initial video on I was pretty bad, he did eventually acknowledge that, yeah, if he did acknowledge that there is the possibility that if kids and teenagers were watching content like iDubbbz, there was the possibility that, you know, that could, make them a very toxic person or, instill talking points that are so backwards within them, you know? At least he eventually acknowledged that. I have some hot takes when it comes to music myself. Let's hear it. Let me judge you for your hot takes. Chad Tronick clowned on Fox News during the Eminem controversy. Chad Tronick, that's a name I haven't heard in a minute. I remember I used to see his content recommended to me all the time, like 8 years ago. Have I heard of Nick Adams? Yeah, he was that dipshit on Twitter who I'd rather not think about. I thought that guy was a troll initially, like, a lot of his posts were just, screamed like, conservative, caricature, but no, apparently that guy's legit. Cabonermoney456 recently changed his YouTube icon and YouTube bio to a rant. Oh boy, I take it that, he's not any better these days. That's unfortunate. The podcast is on hiatus for right now. Oof, I'm gonna take a guess and assume that hiatus is gonna last for 2 years until the next revival comes along. I hate the term respect your elders. Instead, I go by treat others the way you want to be treated. Exactly. I think I made a rant about that back in 2020 about the whole respect your elders philosophy. There are seniors in this world that are fucking assholes. I know firsthand. I've witnessed some really douchey old people in public transportation in the past. If they're an asshole towards you, I don't feel bad for them whatsoever. If, you're an asshole, if they're an asshole towards someone, I don't feel bad for them in the least bit if that person is an asshole right back, regardless if they're a senior citizen or not. Because just because they're a certain age and they have more life experience than another person, that does not give them free rein to treat people however they please, you know? Especially badly, regardless of your age, treat people how you want to be treated. Don't be an asshole to someone who didn't warrant you being an asshole towards them. You could be 10, 20, 50, or 90. Doesn't matter. Don't be a douchebag. I think I listened to all of Deftones' album Diamond Eyes. It was good from what I remember. I never listened to Deftones, so I can't comment on that album. Like to imagine it's pretty hard to eat crunchy shit when you have braces on. It actually wasn't that bad. It was just like eating them without braces on. I didn't feel any discomfort at all. I didn't get anything stuck in my braces or anything. I haven't had any cravings in a long time. My mom gives me a couple of grams of weed a day, so I don't buy off the street. So I have to be 18 to buy weed from the stores. That's really cool. Wish I had your mom. No, I love my mom, but I wish my mom what didn't have the stupid views she had on weed because it's so backwards. It's so obviously from a time where weed was a lot more demonized. It was illegal in this country. You know, drugs was just starting, so all this fucking anti-weed propaganda was, at its peak. It was so dumb. It is dumb, and unfortunately, a lot of people still buy into that bullshit regardless of how much it's. I lost my place again in the chat. Ooh, whatever shall I do? Alright, back to where I was. I ate crunchy stuff like chips and popcorns even when I had braces as well. Based. That is an awful thing to do to neurodivergent people for sure. I wouldn't use it around them if they requested. For me, it's mostly about the R word. It's mostly how the R word is used and who it's being used towards. Yeah, I don't use it in my videos because there could potentially be a neurodivergent person watching who doesn't appreciate me saying that. So I don't say it in my videos because one, I don't like saying it myself, and two, for the reason I just stated. Uh, and also, I remember when I used to use autism as a pejorative. There'd be commenters under my videos telling me they don't appreciate me using autism as a pejorative. It makes them feel demonized. They were already bullied because of their autism, so they didn't appreciate me using autism as a pejorative in my videos. And I would just be like, "Get over it, autist. What are you offended, little snowflake?" That's inexcusable now, and I wish I could apologize to some of these people, but I don't even know if if some of those people are even still on YouTube. I haven't heard from them in a long time because they're probably like, "Hey, fuck this asshole," long ago. It's also how I feel about words like degenerate as well, since I know a lot of conservatives who use that word to demonize minorities, dehumanize minorities. Nazis use that word too, I think, pretty often. Turns me off from that word too. My take lost my place again. Well, my take on Hollywood Undead having some good songs was a hot take on the Chosen Undead podcast. Yeah, I watched that part. I think that was in the first episode, right? Where all of you were like ranking metal bands or whatever. Um, I I've listened to Hollywood Undead in the past. I'm sorry if this is too blunt, but I was like, this is dog shit. I didn't like it at all, but whatever. If you like Hollywood Undead, that's fine, but I listened to I don't think I even made it through a whole album. I just listened to some songs and I was like, "Nah, I don't like this at all." Because I had a friend, at the time online who really liked Hollywood Undead. They told me to give Hollywood Undead a shot some years ago, and I didn't wanna tell them that I thought it was fucking awful, so I just kinda stayed quiet. Good thing my grandparents are feminist and progressive on certain issues. That's cool. Uh, my grandmother who died a few years ago, she had no problem with gay people. Even trans people she didn't have much of a problem with. She said she didn't really understand why one would wanna change their gender, but she said if someone wanted to do that, then that's none of her business. She doesn't care. And, my grandmother on my father's side, who's still alive, she's more of a lib. I mean, she's really big on, civility politics, and, oh my god, Biden is so much more respectful than Trump was, you know? She's that type of Democrat, but, I take that over, like, crazy conservative grandmother. But, she's still cool with gay people, trans people. She lives in Florida, unfortunately, you know? Probably the worst state if you're an LGBT person right now. That reminds me, did any of you see the shit show on Twitter the other day when DeSantis announced his presidency? I don't know who fucking told him it was a good idea to announce his presidency on a fucking Twitter space. You know, Twitter as a whole, ever since Elon took it over, has been an unstable as hell platform. So it should have been no surprise that that shit would have been a fucking disaster. Whatever. It's funny. DeSantis is a horrible human being, so watching him absolutely humiliate himself is very pleasant. And it was like half DeSantis announcing his presidency, and the other half was, everyone who was talking just sucking Elon off and being like, "Oh God, Elon, you're a free speech warrior. Thank you so much for buying Twitter and saving free speech." Age doesn't equal respect. It doesn't. It doesn't. Fuck anyone who says age. If someone is a certain age, they're owed respect. Again, if like an 80-year-old person is an asshole towards me, I'm not gonna be nice back. Like, what did they do to warrant my kindness? My own grandma told me to treat others with respect, not just elders. That was the philosophy my grandmother had too. She was kind to everyone, and she never told me off. You gotta respect your elders. She instilled, she drilled into me that I should be respectful to everyone, regardless of age. The most dangerous thing about weed is owning it. Yeah, you live in certain states in this country, that absolutely is the most dangerous thing about weed. But thankfully, I live in a state that completely legalized weed just 2 years ago. Better late than never, but weed good? Yeah. My mom thinks alcohol should be illegal in the future and that weed should be the main recreational drug. Yeah, because, making alcohol illegal went totally great the first time, except my uncle on my mom's side. He is a conservative, though he is against systemic racism and things like that. Oh god. I got an uncle that lives out in Jersey. He is your typical, Fox News watching conservative. He cheered on the police during the BLM protests. He's not very he doesn't have very favorable views on LGBT people, especially trans people. I learned that recently. All in all, not a swell person. It's too bad. I really loved him when I was a little kid. He was really fun, just learning, his very unsavory views regarding certain groups of people. Yeah, just taints those memories. Weed is no worse than alcohol. It's better than alcohol. Hollywood Undead isn't great in my opinion if you like them cool. Yeah, I mean, again, I thought everything I heard from Hollywood Undead was absolute dog shit, but, uh, more power to you if you enjoy them. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just music. If someone likes a band you don't like, it's not the end of the world. Sure, if the other person is open to it, I'll have a discussion and try to find out why you like a certain band that I don't like, but I'm not gonna, like, chastise someone for it. Unless, of course, it's like white power music, then, you know, certain fringe cases like that, yeah, I'm not gonna like a person for liking a certain kind of music, but for the most part, whatever. I think autism as an insult is a lot worse because that's something people like me actually identify with on a personal level and take pride in. It's like calling a trans person the T-slur, yeah, it's an understandable viewpoint. There's a lot more meaning behind autism as an insult, is how I see it. And, that's exactly why I liked using it as an insult back then. I used to get a reaction out of people. I used to get people offended, and I used to like that. And it made me feel this sense of power because I was offending people. I'm not a triggered snowflake like these other people. That was my that was pretty much my personality back then, or at least my sense of humor. No actual punchline, no actual point behind the jokes, just saying the R slur, the F slur, the N word, calling people autistic because it offended them. Oh my god, that was fucking hilarious. Elon has no clue how to run a social media platform, and I hate that Trump's memes on it were funny as they were. I have no problem with admitting that Trump's memes were funny. Like, I can still acknowledge that Trump himself is a horrible human being, but, the videos, showcasing, like, the SpaceX rocket exploding you know, with Ron DeSantis's campaign logo on it, or the, video contrasting Trump's, announcement that he's running again with DeSantis's announcement that he is running, that shit made me laugh. I'm not afraid to admit that. Again, Trump is a terrible human being, but, you know, I never did deny that he can be funny from time to time. But yeah, it's just I'd like to know who gave DeSantis the idea that announcing his president him running for president on Twitter would be a good idea. My guess is probably Elon got into his ear, but still, I mean, someone must had to have told DeSantis that, you really don't wanna go with a traditional rally where you announce in front of an actual crowd of people that you're running for president. I mean, Twitter has been very unstable in the months since Elon, you know, started owning it. You really wanna announce it on a platform like that? No, it'll be good. Whatever, again, I'm all for DeSantis humiliating himself because he's such a fucking horrible human being. Glad that my uncle was left leaning, that's cool. I mean, my other uncles are fine. They're libs, but, they're not, like they're not conservatives, and, they're fine with the existence of trans people and gay people and, LGBT people as a whole. I also love Skillet's albums, Comatose and Awake. They're some of the best post-grunge albums in my opinion. Maybe I should give them a shot, I don't know, I never listened to Skillet, so I can't judge their music. Okay, maybe I have heard a Skillet song before, but I don't remember it. I was accused of being transphobic a few years back for talking back to a trans person who made fun of my autistic traits. No slurs or anything, just swearing. I mean, so long as he didn't, insult their identity or anything, I don't see any problem with, uh, getting angry at a trans person, especially if they're, being ableist towards someone who they know is, a neurodivergent themselves. You know, trans people are, you know, not immune to being assholes themselves. Everyone, regardless of what group of people they belong to, uh, they th- they're a part of, rather, can be an asshole. Just so long as you don't insult, their identity or anything that has nothing to do with them being an asshole, then fine. Trump Jr. also accidentally said Trump's name when he meant to say DeSantis when he was talking about the campaign announcement being a disaster. It's so funny. Did he really? Speaking of accidentally saying things you didn't mean to say, watched Vosh's video yesterday or last night rather, about DeSantis's announcement, on the Twitter space, and immediately the video starts off with DeSantis accidentally saying "my mommy" and he meant to say "my wife." Like, wow. I didn't hear that before, and that got a good laugh out of me. I'm sure. I'm sure that really went well with the conservatives who think they're alpha males and you know should control their wives, and men should control their wives. You know that backwards ass viewpoint. Yeah, I did hear about the Target store. I brought that up briefly earlier in the stream, probably before you came in. But yeah, like I said before, I've seen the Pride section of Target before. In previous years in June, I never batted an eye towards it. Someone, I don't get conservatives who melt the fuck down over shit that doesn't matter. I mean, I do understand it to an extent. It's the Republican Party manufacturing issues because if they really did focus on real issues, they wouldn't appeal to the public at all. So they got to just tap into people's bigotry. But anyway, still, the average Republican voter giving a shit about these sorts of issues, though. What Target is selling, irrelevant bullshit like that. Like, I can't imagine caring about that at all, like, really. There's videos of conservatives tearing down, you know, like, tearing down shelves that have shirts with rainbows on them, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, why do you give a shit about this stuff so goddamn much? Just let people fucking live. No one's harming anyone because they're trans, or they're gay, or they're lesbian, or they're whatever. So the fuck what if there are LGBT people out there? You don't gotta vandalize a store because you have this irrational hatred of these people. And the fact that Target is caving into these types of people is just so fucking sad. I really worry about this upcoming trip, though. Like the transphobia and just the bigotry against the LGBT community as a whole is pretty much at an all-time high right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we hear that a pride parade was shot up or something, and I really hope that doesn't happen, but, with the trajectory that a lot of this country is going in, I wouldn't be surprised if a tragedy like that happened. It's horrible. I know that these people are the fringe. I know most of this country isn't down with the rampant bigotry, but there's still so many people who are just completely sucked into this bullshit. They think that this is actually an issue that matters, and, they're vandalizing stores, they're hurting people. It's the anti-LGBT bigotry pretty much consumed their entire personality at this point. I was just calling them out for being a jerk, yeah. Again, understandable, so long as you weren't being transphobic. If a trans person is being a jerk towards you, you don't have to be nice back. Again, that doesn't mean it's fair game to misgender them or anything like that, but still, if you're being a jerk towards them and, in regards to their in regards to them being a shitty person towards you, and you're not making it about their identity at all, then fair game. Trans and neurodivergent people are just like anyone else in terms of social interaction. Some are nice people, some aren't. Yeah, I mean, more or less. I mean, I have pretty poor social skills because of my social anxiety, and that's brought up by my autism. But that still doesn't excuse me being an asshole towards people who don't deserve it. There's no way DeSantis is going to win. Conservative voters still want Trump. Yeah, they do still want Trump. I've seen that a lot on Twitter. That's my fan. There we go. Sorry, sometimes my fan makes a lot of noise when I turn it on, and I gotta adjust it a little bit to make it shut up. Anyway, yeah, things were really going DeSantis's way some months ago after midterms, but ever since Trump got indicted, everything started going south for DeSantis, and him announcing his presidency on Twitter and Twitter crashing because so many people joined the space is just another nail in the coffin for DeSantis' campaign. It's so funny. His campaign is pretty much already dead when it just fucking started. Most of these conservatives are either insecure about their masculinity and are projecting their own sexual frustration on others, or they're extremely brainwashed. Might be a mixture of both. They have insecurities, so they turn to people like Andrew Tate for advice on, how to be an alpha male. And then they start, going down the red pill rabbit hole. I think that makes up a lot of Andrew Tate's audience, insecure young men who, you know, don't have the best of luck when it comes to attaining a partner. So they turn to people like him who claim to have the answers. And, they instead just take advantage of these types of people and try to, instill very misogynistic viewpoints within them. Trump is never going to shut up about that, and I'm here for it. Yeah. Oh god, the upcoming Republican primary is going to be so entertaining. I'm definitely going to watch debates between DeSantis and Trump. Like, there's no way DeSantis can hold himself in a debate against Trump. That's not to say Trump is a good debater when it comes to actually making good points, but he's relentless when it comes to insults, making the crowd laugh. He's gonna fucking humiliate DeSantis in debates. Because DeSantis just has no charisma at all. He's just your average, cardboard cutout Republican politician. I mean, yeah, sure, he's passed all these extremely draconian policies against, trans people in the LGBT community and people of color, but, you know, I mean, when it comes to his personality and charisma, he is so goddamn bland. His speech during that Twitter space was just so generic. He just hit all the fucking, you know, usual talking points. I'm anti woke. I got we're gonna fight against all this wokeness that's plaguing this country. Woke, woke, woke. That made up a big chunk of his speech. Like, where are your fucking policies that are actually gonna fucking benefit people in this country? Because most people in this country don't fucking give a shit about this anti-woke bullshit. They don't. I've been over this so many times. Republicans hopped on about this all of last year. Midterms should have been a blowout in their favor, but it wasn't because people don't fucking care about trans people. They don't see these people as a threat. They just see them as regular fucking people who just wanna live their lives. They're not harming anyone. So most people just let them live the life they choose to live and not pay attention whatsoever. Because again, these people are not affecting their lives at all. I'm sure most people in this country don't even fucking know anyone who's trans, or at least in real life, they don't know anyone who's trans. But you're harping on these non-issues that impact no one, benefit no one, but you have nothing to fucking run on because that's all you have. All the actual policies you believe in are not popular with the public, so you just harp on with this, you know, with the typical anti-woke bullshit because again, that's all the talking points that you have. That's all you have for the public, and you're appealing to a fringe group of people. I know these people wanna make it seem like most of the country is against the woke ideology, but most people don't fucking care. People can have their opinions, but they need to realize how it affects them, how it affects how so many people feel about themselves. And I think I know what you're getting at there. Yeah, you should have more consideration for, how you treat other people, how the words you say impact other people. I really wish more people were capable of this, but it seems like a lot of people are just content with being, assholes that no one wants to be around, that never has a nice thing to say about anyone. I think Biden is going to beat Trump, though. Normies don't want Trump to be president. Yeah, I don't think Trump is going to be president. I think Biden is going to win because Trump himself is also unfavorable to the general public. Among Republicans, yeah, he blows DeSantis out of the water, but when it comes to the general public, people are so fucking tired of Trump. Trump doesn't appeal to the general public. He's still going on about how he won the 2020 election. And most people, even Republicans, are like, can you fucking move on already? You lost, dude. Get over it. Stop acting like a fucking piss baby almost 3 years later. But he's still going on about that. He is playing, he is playing into the QAnon crowd too. The more fringe side of the Republican Party, which unfortunately, as time goes by, continuously makes up a bigger chunk of the Republican Party. But still, most people aren't down with that type of shit. That they're not down with the election denial, the QAnon conspiracy theories. He's mostly placating to that kind of crowd, which is good in the sense that that pretty much hinders his chances of being the next president because, again, those sorts of talking points don't resonate with most people in this country. So I'm happy about that. I'm just here for the fucking bloodbath in the primaries because I know Trump is going to be relentless against DeSantis, and it's going to be so nice to see. And I hope DeSantis doesn't recover from it. I hope it completely fucking wrecks his image among Republican voters. Because if it doesn't, for a fact when Trump croaks finally, DeSantis is probably going to try to take up the mantle. Also, his campaign ad was so bad. DeSantis's wasn't that the campaign ad that said that showed way too much of Elon for an ad that is supposedly supposed to be about DeSantis. Thankfully, the number of people who knowing a trans person is increasing, which leads to more acceptance of trans people. Yeah, it absolutely is increasing. I'm just saying a lot of these boomer voters who care about who supposedly think that being trans is a social contagion on society probably have never even met or spoke to a trans person. That's the point I was getting at. He's probably going to bring up the 2020 election during the debates in 2024. Oh, absolutely. He's never going to let go of the 2020 election. And if he loses in 2024, he's never going to let go of that either. He'll be whining until the day he dies about the 2020 election. Is there such thing as conservatives who don't like Trump? Yeah, they're neocons. The Mitt Romney type of Republicans, which is a shrinking portion of the Republican Party. Most of the Republican Party is on board with Trump and all that bullshit, the anti-trans shit and all that. But well, not even most Republicans. A lot of Republicans don't care about the trans stuff, but they're on board with politicians like Trump and the more fringe side. The same people who said you lost to get over it in 2016 are still whining about 2023 years later. Oh yeah, yeah. These people don't care about consistency. They're fucking hypocrites. You know, when their guy won in 2016, they were so quick to smear it in the faces of Democrats, saying, liberal, Trump won, get over it, you loser. And then the moment their guy loses, they go into fucking freak out mode. They have a complete goddamn meltdown. They try to, they try their hand at a fucking coup. Like, okay, maybe some of the reactions for Trump winning in 2016 from Democrats were amusing and maybe even cringe. I mean, yeah, some were cringe. I mean, look at the screaming lady that conservatives still use as a gift to this day. But that shit pales in comparison to how Republicans, or more specifically, the rabid Trump voters reacted to Trump losing. Like, none of those cringe neo-lib Democrats who literally cried when Trump won didn't try to fucking start a fucking coup, go attack the Capitol. So I don't want to hear anything about how the Democrats handled losing 2016 when we saw how Trump's base handled losing in 2020. DeSantis could win in the primaries in 2028. I mean, Clinton won in 2016 after losing to Obama twice. Wait, never mind. It was just 2008, I think, since Clinton was part of the Obama administration. Yeah, I was a little confused for a second there. Yeah, I think unless he completely wrecks his image in 2024, he might have a shot in 2028 because if Trump loses in 2024, I don't think he'll try again in maybe he will, I don't know. If he even is still alive in 2028, I think so long as he has a pulse, he'll still try to run for president, but I don't think the voters would, care as much in 2028 if he were to lose in 2024. They probably want a different guy by then, but I don't know. I'm just really happy DeSantis is so unpopular right now because a DeSantis presidency would be even more catastrophic than a Trump presidency. I don't have any friends who are trans, but I have talked to and hung out with some before. Don't know why people need to have such a problem with it. It shouldn't be an issue at all. Again, these people should just be allowed to live the lives they choose to live so long as they're not harming anyone. And they're not harming anyone by being trans or gay or lesbian or bi or pan or whatever they are. I gotta charge my laptop 1 second. Oh god, the wire's all tangled. Shit. Ah, there we go. It's charging. All right. In about 20 minutes, the stream is ending, by the way. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be anyone's problem if someone is LGBT. Democrats at least conceded they lost. Republicans didn't. Yep. And they're still in meltdown mode almost 3 years later. I have some trans friends and have met trans people before, and none of them have been bad. I don't understand why some people see them as a threat. They are just people because they skew away from their backwards ass social norms. They think that if someone was born a man, they should stay a man. If someone was born a woman, they should stay a woman. And younger generations are challenging those social norms. We're seeing more trans people than we ever have in the past. We're seeing more, gay people, lesbians, bisexuals, pansexuals. Those people also skew away from social norms because these conservatives believe that, you know, only a man and woman can get married together. They can't be trans. They have to be straight and cis. They have these rigid social norms, and it's fine. Preferring a more traditional lifestyle. If you're if I've seen this term thrown around, trad wife. If you want to be a trad wife, you want to be the housewife taking care of the home while the husband is out there, making all the money. If that's the life you truly want to live, have fucking at it. No one's stopping you. But it's just these people who want to force that type of lifestyle on everyone. That's the problem. And that's why people are melting down over trans people and the LGBT community as a whole, because they skew away from these norms. They're challenging, the traditional American lifestyle where a man marries a woman, they have some kids. A lot of people don't want that kind of life, and more people are, saying that kind of life is not for me. I want to be with another man. I want to be with another woman. I don't want kids. I don't want a family. Or I don't want to be the gender I was assigned at birth. And these people feel threatened because their values are being thrown out the window. So, all this rampant bigotry is pretty much them in cope mode that, the younger generation doesn't want to live that type of lifestyle, or for the most part, or a lot of people, I mean, in the young generation aren't interested in leading a life like that and instead want to carve their own path. That's at least just part of it. Again, no one is taking away your right to be a trad wife. Again, if you just want to stay home, do the dishes, take care of the kids while your husband is out there working, and you can sustain that type of lifestyle if you have enough money, because most people need both the man and the woman to be working in this society in this day and age. But if that can be sustainable, then whatever. Have at it. No one is taking away that right from you. Just don't fucking force that type of lifestyle on other people who don't want to live that type of life. And I don't know anyone who's trans in real life, but I do have someone who goes by both she, her, and they, them pronouns. Completely fine person. One of the nicest people I've ever met. And the person who turned me on to more progressive ideas. You know, they were they they introduced me to you know more left wing ideas, and at least was kind of sort of part in me, changing my views on a lot of subjects. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump tried to run again in 2028. Yeah, but I think at that point, I think most Republican voters would be tired of him and would want someone else. At least I hope that's how they would feel if he tried to run again in 2028, and if he's still alive in 2028, which fingers crossed he's not. But then again, I had my fingers crossed in 2020 that he wouldn't be alive in 2024, and it seems like he will be alive in 2024 unless something happens. But I absolutely love the term "okay boomer." Yeah, people used to say that a lot back in 2020. I remember when that was a big meme, saying "okay boomer." It got annoying, kinda, but I kind of wish like made a comeback. Just fucking dismiss all these obnoxious boomers who go on and on about their fucking backwards worldviews. I still think of how TYT reacted to the 2016 election sometimes. Oh yeah, I remember that. I never watched their election stream, but I saw some highlights of that from anti-SJW channels way back in the day. They didn't take it kindly. But I do like that rant from Anna Kasparian from back then where she was like, "If you're a woman and you voted for Trump, yeah, I think you're fucking stupid." I do look back at that and I'm like, "Yeah, based. If only Anna was still like that today." TYT really went down the shitter. I mean, they were never good to begin with, but even more so nowadays. With Anna Kasparian melting down over the term birthing person, a term that no one uses in their day-to-day vernacular. It's mainly like academic vernacular and, you know, usually when you're referring to something like, reproductive rights being taken away, you usually see, some people say birthing person because, it's not just cis women who are being impacted by reproductive rights being taken away. That's when I've used terms like birthing person in the past. But yeah, TYT is just awful, even more awful than it already was. And I saw my YouTube notifications when I woke up that I made a response video to their takes on the Russia versus Ukraine situation. I might watch that a little later. I plan on ordering pizza later, so maybe I'll watch it when I'm eating pizza. I'm also trans and a mod on this community. Yeah. I think you're my only mod too. Maybe I should change that. Uh, there's usually not much not there's usually no problems in these streams. And whenever there is a troll that the chat, they're usually dealt with pretty quickly. What's weird, some people hated trad values when they were young, but as they got old, they sold out their beliefs. I mean, boomers were hippies back in the 60s, or at least, the early boomers were in the 60s. Now look at a lot of them. If American cops searched my mom's house, she'd get felony charges. If you're talking about the weed, it would depend on which state you were living in, but yeah, if you're in a state that was really strict against weed, yeah, you'd be fucked. Again, I'm thankful I live in New York where weed weed is finally legalized fully. It used to be just decriminalized, but in 2021 they finally made it fully legal. Last time I got high was in January, I think. Yeah, I don't get high very often. It's usually just like a social thing with me and my friends. But I could use a high right about now. I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but since quite a few people here weren't here at the beginning of the stream, going through a little bit of. Well, I'm not going through a rough patch right now, but my family might be going through a bit of a rough patch right now because a family friend passed away. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's personal stuff that's not really any of your business, but I'm just gonna say their death did kind of come as a shock. It's something we weren't expecting. So this today has been kind of depressing because of that. I could really use a high right now. I used to hate that rant from Anna, but nowadays I think she had a point. She did have a point because those women who voted for Trump were voting against their best interests. They're voting for a guy that appointed Supreme Court justices that helped do away with Roe v. Wade. I'm high as fuck right now, lol. Based. Again, I really wish I was high right now. Weed was legal in Canada since 2018, and even before that, 90s to 2010s, most people wouldn't get weed charges. That was pretty much how it was here in New York for a long time. It was only decriminalized. It wasn't fully legal, but you wouldn't like get, in trouble with the police or anything if you were caught with some weed on you. So the attitude surrounding weed here in New York City, at least, has been pretty lax for a long time now. It's just that only 2 years ago it finally became official that weed is legal here, or weed finally became officially legal here, I should say. Ken Paxton faces an impeachment vote tomorrow. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Should keep up with that tomorrow. I'm high too. Sometimes I wish I could hook Mikey with some weed. I always have lots of weed. If we lived near each other, yeah, hell yeah. But unfortunately, you live very far from where I am. I mean, just look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carrie Lake, Lauren Southern, and others like them. They absolutely hate women despite being women themselves. Yeah, again, those are women who advocate for things that are against their best interests that would, negatively impact them, but they view themselves as one of the good ones, kind of like how Blair White, is seemingly okay with the rampant transphobia going on right now amongst the right, but she thinks she's one of the good ones, and she thinks they totally won't go after her if they were to get absolute power in this country. When she is dead wrong about that. Maybe she thinks if she's a pick me, if it ever gets to a point where trans people are thrown into camps, she won't be thrown into a camp herself. But yeah, I mean, God forbid it ever gets to that point. But if it ever does, she has a rude awakening coming her way. I've smoked weed with my mom before too. Damn, your mom is based as hell. Shit. Wish my mom would just, chill and smoke a blunt with me. I've done it with my dad before. One of the times he came down, um, we went to a park that's in the back of the houses that are across the street from me, and we smoked a little bit. She never knew. She never found out. Oh yeah, Candace Owens too. Almost forgot about her. She's the worst on women's issues. She's also really terrible, as you already know, on racial issues too. A complete auntie Tom. She's advocating against her best interest both when it comes to her being a woman and a person of color. Like, what a fucking miserable existence, you know, advocating for policies and viewpoints that directly negatively impact you. Always being a pick me for the worst types of people who don't even view you as human or equal. Like, must be a shitty fucking life always trying to appeal to these types of people. I mean, Candace Owens is fucking raking it in money, but still. I mean, I imagine that must take some toll on your mental health. And again, Candace Owens just seems like she's just completely fucking evil, so I guess she probably just doesn't care. What's weird about my city is that the neighborhoods are beautiful and have really nice houses, but we have a lot of drug houses here too. They just take care of their properties better. Hmm. My mom got me into weed this year. That's damn, you people have some really cool moms. What the fuck? Well, my dad is really cool, so that's something. But my mom, she still got that, 1980s mentality when it comes to weed. I've seen her smoke a cigarette like twice in my life, only in like socials, only during like social gatherings, and even then she usually turns down a cigarette. But the fact that at least a few occasions in her life she's okay with smoking a cigarette, you know, which is so much worse for you than weed is. It's just a stupid fucking double standard. We're fine with cigarettes. I'm not saying cigarettes should be illegal either. I'm not for banning any drug, but still, if you're going to demonize weed, demonize the drug that's way worse for you, like cigarettes are, or tobacco. My mom used to scare us when we were kids about how dangerous weed was. Yeah, she used to instill a lot of fear into me too. And I remember when I first smoked weed back in 2016. I was 15. Friend offered it to me. I was so fucking scared. I tried to mask it in front of my friend, um, because I didn't want to see him uncool or anything. But I was thinking to my head, if I smoke this, I could eventually become addicted to cocaine or heroin or any other really harmful drug of the sort. I shouldn't smoke this, but I gave in to peer pressure and don't give in to peer pressure, but this one time giving in to peer pressure actually fucking worked for me in the long run because I was a pretty regular smoker and at the end of 2016, 2017, and it helped with my anxiety so goddamn much. So goddamn much. I'm not saying this, it would have the same, effect on you, everyone has different reactions to everything, but for me personally, weed was a very positive force in my life during that time. And contributed to some of the happiest memories I have so far in my life. But me and my friend joke about that. That first time I smoked weed, he was like, "I could tell you were really nervous," and I was like, "Yeah, it was. I was." She only smokes dry pipe bowls, and I only smoke bongs. She literally called trans activism the biggest modern civil rights threat. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. People with that type of mentality are the biggest modern civil rights threat in my mind. Your mom smoked weed when she was your age too. Based. I'm a cigarette smoker, but I don't drink or use hard drugs anymore. I'll hopefully eventually quit the cigarettes because my dad is totally hooked on cigarettes. He's been smoking cigarettes since he was like 12 fucking years old. He's tried so many times to quit. There was one time in 2015 he downgraded to vape, and that didn't work. I remember when I was a little kid, he would say, "I'm quitting just for you," and that attempt failed, and so many attempts failed. I'm gonna go for now. Fun stream. See ya. Well, it's a 2 hour and 5 minute mark, so I'm gonna head out too. Thank you for being here. This was a really fun stream. I loved it. Loved every second of it. Really active throughout the whole entire stream. I mean, the chat was really active throughout the entire stream, and that was very nice. So yeah. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to everyone who was here before, who is not here now. I appreciate everyone who interacts with me in these streams and can somehow tolerate listening to me for 2 hours. Huh. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna head out now and do other things, play video games, order a pizza, and just chill for the rest of the day. There should be a June stream. When in June? I don't fucking know. But anyway, see ya in my next video, whenever that'll be.